The universe is not testing your strength. It is testing your capacity to be completely hollowed out. The silence you feel right now is not emptiness. It is the final calibration for a life that will eventually give you goosebumps. Your greatest chapter is being born in the dark, and it is closer than you have ever been allowed to believe. You were born into a story that was already halfway finished. They believe that when they choose a career, a partner, or a belief system, they are acting out of free will. But Carl Jung discovered a terrifying reality. Most of us are merely ghosts inhabiting the unlived lives of our ancestors, in the unlived life of the parent. Think about the things that were never said, the dreams that your mother buried to keep the peace, or the ambitions your father strangled because he was told that people like us don't succeed. Energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be transferred. You inherited a spell disguised as destiny. The second you look at your anxiety and realize it isn't yours, but your mother's. The second you look at your fear of success and realize it's actually your father's ghost whispering in your ear. But the cost of that safety is your soul. The victim identity is a parasite that eats your gold and leaves you with nothing but excuses and a deep, hollow sense of regret. But then the shattering happens. It usually comes when the gap between who you are and who you are pretending to be becomes a canyon. The weight of the unlived life becomes so heavy that your psychological structure literally collapses. This is the shattering. Jung observed that when the ego is smashed this way, the warrior archetype is forced to emerge from the basement of the unconscious. The victim and the warrior are two sides of the same coin, but they operate on completely different frequencies. Shattering is the moment you withdraw your agreement that the cage you've been living in was never locked. Your friends and family might try to rescue you back into your old victimhood because your growth makes their stagnation look like a choice. They liked you better when you were broken because your brokenness was familiar. But the warrior within you is no longer interested in being liked. It is interested in being free. No tree can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. The shattering is your roots reaching the bottom. For the first time, you have the fuel to actually change your reality. The parts that survive the impact are the indestructible foundation of your true self. This is your individuation. You have done the hardest part. Once the warrior is born from the wreckage of the victim, you will enter a phase that is perhaps the most misunderstood in all of human psychology. Jung called this the abyssal shift, but they look at the silence in their bank account, the silence in their social circle, and the silence in their own heart, and they assume they are being punished. You are currently in the great withdrawal. Your energy is being withdrawn from the external world so it can be used to rewire your internal landscape. You are being depressurized for the launch. During the great withdrawal, the things that used to give you pleasure will feel like ash. The people you used to turn to for comfort will feel like strangers. This is because your psyche is starving your old identity. Jung described this as the Nigredo phase. Your old ambitions are decaying. Your old needs are dying. You feel like a ghost in your own life because you are currently between worlds. Great withdrawal is the downbeat before the most powerful symphony of your life begins. When you have survived the shattering and endured the great withdrawal, you arrive at a point of impossible tension. You are standing between the life you've destroyed and the life that hasn't yet appeared. This is the psychological no man's land. The transcendent function, the glitch, the big me, the self, takes over from the small me, the ego. The small me thinks it needs to struggle. The big me knows that it already owns the field. When you step into the transcendent function, you stop chasing and start attracting. This is why the days before the payoff feel so strange. You feel a sense of detached certainty. You aren't hoping for a breakthrough anymore. You are observing its arrival. You have moved from prayer to observation. The transcendent function has solved the impossible problem of your past by making the person who had the problem disappear. You are not improving your old life. You are inhabiting a new one that was built on the ruins of the old. The glitch has occurred. Now, all that's left is to watch the physical world catch up to the change you've already made in the dark. The doors are opening. Do not hesitate. Walk through. The true will tells you that you were simply unfinished. You don't manifest your future. You uncover it. When you move with the certainty of the air, the world treats you with the respect of the sovereign. It is the natural consequence of your individuation. You have survived the Nigredo. You have integrated the shadow. You have recognized the glitch. Your new life is not a gift. It is a restitution. We have reached the final movement of the psychological prophecy. You have survived the shattering of the victim. You have endured the heavy silence of the great withdrawal. You have witnessed the glitch of the transcendent function, and you have stood tall for the reading of your true will. Now, there is only one stage remaining. In the ancient texts of alchemy, the same texts Carl Jung spent the final decades of his life decoding. This is known as the Rubedo or the Replenish. The universe has been holding back your gold in a massive reservoir of potential energy for years. The water level in that reservoir was rising. The universe wasn't saying no. It was saying not yet. You aren't strong enough to survive the volume of this blessing. But now, because you have integrated your shadow and claimed your true will, you have the psychological infrastructure to handle the weight. The influx is the moment where the internal work you did in the dark becomes undeniably visible in the light of day. It is the moment where your subjective reality, how you feel inside, and your objective reality, the world around you, finally snap into perfect alignment. You will find that resources, money, time, connections, begin to gravitate toward you as if you have become a psychological magnet. You will likely find yourself working with a sense of wu-wei, or effortless action. The world suddenly has a hunger for exactly what you are. Jung believed in the principle of enantiodromia, the idea that everything eventually turns into its opposite. If you have lived through extreme isolation, you are owed extreme connection. Your job is not to be a rescuer. Your job is to be a lighthouse. Your suffering was the price of admission for a level of freedom that most people cannot even imagine. Do not apologize for the abundance. Do not feel guilty that you broke free while others chose to stay in the cage. The true will has been executed. The inheritance has been deposited. The prophecy is fulfilled. You have moved from the unlived life to the fully realized life. You have turned your shadow into your shield. You have turned your ancestral curse into a generational blessing. The days before everything pays off are officially behind you.